All right, so this whole story kicks off with a bit of a mystery. It starts with this dirty, totally neglected fish tank, bought secondhand. But this wasn't just some empty glass box. Oh no, there was a secret hiding inside.
Right as the deal was being made, the seller just casually drops this little bomb. Oh, by the way, apparently there's a live turtle inside. Can you imagine? You look at this tank and you literally can't see a thing through that murky green water. So the race was on to get this thing home and find out what was really going on.
And there he was! After carefully sifting through everything, hiding out under an old piece of wood was this tiny little turtle. And the amazing thing, despite the absolutely awful conditions, he seemed to be perfectly healthy. It was such a huge relief, but, that's when the real work was just getting started.
Okay, so finding him was step one. But to give him the home he actually deserved, we had a major challenge. First up, identification. What species was this little guy? And what kind of environment would he need not just to survive, but to actually be happy and thrive? Well, technology to the rescue. A quick scan with an AI app gave us the answer. A Central American wood turtle. And this is where things get really fascinating. This particular species has this incredible hunting trick. It stomps its feet on the ground to sound like rain, which tricks worms into coming to the surface. How cool is that? We'll definitely have to see if our little guy does that later on.
That same app also gave us the single most crucial piece of information for the entire build. These turtles, they need a habitat that's a perfect 50-50 split between land and water. This one simple rule became the entire blueprint for turning that empty tank into a real home.
So, with that 50-50 rule in mind, it was time to start building. And this wasn't just about cleaning up the old tank. No, this was about planning and creating a whole new world from scratch. A true bioactive palace for a very deserving turtle. The whole project really broke down into 4 main stages. First, getting the hardscape in. That's the rock background and the stone divider that creates our 2 zones. Second, building that awesome waterfall, which is also going to be our main filter. Third, carefully layering the land side so it can drain properly and support live plants. And finally, creating a natural-looking riverbed on the water side. Of course, no big project ever goes perfectly smoothly. The first time we turned on the waterfall, well, let's just say intense is a good word for it. It was more like a fire hose than a gentle stream, spraying water everywhere. But thankfully, a quick adjustment to the pump dialed it right back to a perfect, gentle cascade. Now here's the really clever part about that waterfall. It's not just there to look pretty. There's a hidden pump that pulls water up through filter floss, cleaning out all the gunk before it cascades back down the rocks. So you get this beautiful feature that's also a hard-working biological filter. It's a total 2-for-1 deal. But, the physical structure? That was only half the battle. To create a home that could actually sustain itself, the whole setup needed to be bioactive. And what that means is bringing in a whole team of other living things to create a balanced, tiny little ecosystem. And that's where the cleanup crew comes in. On the land side, we added these teeny tiny insects called springtails. Their whole job is just to munch on any mold that might try to grow in the damp soil. And in the water, we brought in a team of Nerit snails to keep the glass and rocks sparkling clean by eating up all the algae. Now, choosing Nerit snails was a very specific move, and for a really good reason. Here's a little pro tip for you. Unlike a lot of other snails, they can't actually reproduce in fresh water. And this is a huge plus, because it prevents that classic problem of your tank suddenly being completely overrun with snails. So, with the structure built, the water flowing, the plants in place, and the cleanup crew already hard at work, the bioactive palace was finally finished. It was time for the best moment of the whole project, introducing our little turtle to his new world. And what a moment it was. He immediately climbed up onto the land to survey his brand new kingdom, then dove right into the crystal clear water. He even swam right up to a snail, probably wondering if it was a snack, before realizing it wasn't. You could tell he was actively exploring, and he was clearly getting hungry.
Okay, so now that he's settled in, it's time for his first real meal. This was our chance to figure out what he likes to eat, and of course, to see if he'd pull off that famous worm stomp we learned about.
The taste test was pretty revealing. Turtle pellets? Yep, loved them. Bloodworms? Oh yeah, he devoured those. A cricket on land was completely ignored, but the second it touched the water, gone. The one big failure? Carrots. He took one bite and immediately spit it right back out. We've got a turtle who does not like his vegetables.
All right, this was the moment of truth. He's had some appetizers, now it was time for the main course. Live worms, hidden right there in the dirt on the land side of the tank. Would he do it? Would he perform that incredible signature worm stomp to lure them out?
And the answer was a surprising no, not at all. Even with a whole pile of juicy worms right in front of his face on land, he had zero interest. But the second you dangled a worm in the water, he snatched it up and battled with it for minutes.
So the conclusion here is pretty clear. This particular Central American wood turtle, even though he has the instinct to hunt for his food, seems perfectly happy to just skip the hard work, is a little bit lazy, a little bit spoiled, and it seems he just prefers his meals delivered directly to him. You know, room service.
And so what started as an abandoned, dirty box of water becomes a self-sustaining paradise. It's an amazing transformation that really just leaves you with one question. What does it take to turn a little bit of neglect into a thriving new world?